Hey guys, and welcome to Petrol Ped, and welcome to the UK press drives of the brand new VW ID.7. They're all-electric saloon. Now this is an interesting car. There is so much to unpack, so much to talk about. We are going to be battling the elements a little bit today, but I can't wait to put this car through its paces. Now then, unfortunately today it is a horrible day here in Milton Keynes, very windy and very rainy. I can see most of this review taking part inside the car. But I wanted to just walk around the outside of the car and talk a little bit about styling and drag coefficient, because this car is slippery. And what that means is really great efficiency and as much range as possible out of the battery. This car has a drag coefficient of just 0.23, which is really low. Google it and you will find out. At the front of the car, the sleek aero starts right at the front end. The first bit of air that hits the car is going to be there, and you can see some airflow management. There's little gaps in the bodywork just down there, very sleek over the bonnet. There is no front storage here. If you lift that area, all you'll find under there is electric motors and those types of things. Unfortunately, no front storage, but there's plenty of room at the back. As we walk around the side of the car, we've got a range of different wheel size options, but I just think the elegance of not having an SUV format, of a saloon format. From the B-pillar backwards, you've got this privacy glass, which with this particular spec, dark blue privacy glass, I like that a great deal. And then this kind of silver accent down there just brings the side of the car together. What you can't see from your location there, but there's also an electrochromatic panoramic glass roof. We'll talk more about that when we're driving. And then you come around the back of the car, and the back of the car finishes really nicely. I like this totally across integrated light bar just there. It's a smart looking car. And if I just pop the boot, inside there is a huge amount of space, because this is a big car. Best part of 5 meters long. But before we take it for a drive, let's talk about the different powertrain and battery options and the range that we'll expect from this very, very slippery ID.7. This ID.7 Pro Match being tested has the most powerful and highest torque electric drive motor of any VW ID model to date. The 210 kilowatt or 286 PS motor is integrated into the rear axle along with a dual-stage 1-speed gearbox. It has 545 Newton meters of torque and will dispatch the 0 to 62 sprint in just 6.5 seconds, topping out at a maximum speed of 112 miles an hour. The Pro Match has a 77 kilowatt-hour battery and a quoted WLTP range of 384 miles. A larger 86 kilowatt-hour battery is set to follow, with in excess of 400 miles of range. Okay, now we are out and about driving on this utterly foul day. The worst possible conditions for filming a review, I can assure you. Let me just start off by my initial impressions of the car. I'm going to talk a little bit more in detail about space later on in the video, but the first impression is this car is massive. It's very rare that I get in a car and I need to pull the seat forward, and I need to pull it forward by not just a centimetre or two, but probably a good inch or two. It's a huge car, loads of space. The driving position is pretty good. It is dominated by that big screen, and I guess from an EV point of view, that is nothing special. That's kind of what we have grown accustomed to seeing. But the other thing that I really like is there's a smaller screen in front with just the information I need: speed, battery percentage, range, temperature, those types of things. And then also the best augmented reality head-up display. Really, really smart. Got some really useful information on there, including, which is quite interesting because I don't think I've seen it before, my current miles per kilowatt hour, because I think we're going to have to talk quite a lot about that in this video, because this car, the range that is quoted for this car and the efficiency numbers that are quoted for this car are quite special. But the first thing I want to talk about is the big screen, the HMI, the human machine interface. So slightly different style to talk you through the interior of this car, because it's really horrible outside and I don't want to be opening any of the doors, to be honest. But it's a very nice cabin. It has a real feel of premium. The choice of materials, all the touch points are lovely. There's a really nice blue accent across the front of the dash, piping on the seats. The steering wheel has a nice feel to it, and there's loads and loads of space. But the thing I wanted to talk about most of all is this, the new HMI, human machine interface, or infotainment system, however you want to talk about it, because I think it's safe to say in recent years, VW haven't had the best feedback, the best press on their HMI. It's always been a bit slow, a bit laggy, just a bit overly complex, and actually in some cases quite lacking in features. But this is VW's brand new system. It premieres in ID.7 and then will roll out across the rest of their fleet. And we've had a walkthrough with one of their experts, and I just wanted to talk through a few things, because honestly, there are features in that I've been waiting for EV manufacturers that aren't Tesla to do for quite some time. So let me just spin the camera around. Okay, I guess one thing I would like to talk about, just this center console is really nice. You've got a bin in there with just a huge amount of storage space for stuff. And then I really like the way these two shutter blinds join together. You've got your wireless charge mat there for your phone. You've got a couple of drinks holders, a nice cubby hole. I just like that. It's really nice detailing. But let's just kind of come up here and have a look at the infotainment screen, the infotainment system. So first up, along the top over here and along the bottom are a range of quick dial menus that mean that everything is just a touch away, but you can customize those along the bottom of your various HVAC controls. But across the top here, you can customize these. If I just press this little plus sign there, I can add any extra icons. So if I wanted, I don't know, let's say I wanted radio to be part of my quick dial, you can see now that I've got radio up there. So I can basically customize this row of hotkeys, which I really, really like. You've also got a range of different screens. I think you see the two little buttons up there. That just shows there are, at the moment, 2 screens configured. But I can customize these and add as many home screens as I like. There's a whole bunch of different settings. I don't want to go too much into all the features and functions, but it's a comprehensive list and it looks very complicated and very distracting. But because you've got these hotkeys, I just think that's a really cool way. And then the little home button there will just take you back home. You've also got a voice assistant here, so I can speak to her, much like you can speak to any kind of home speaker system like Alexa or Google. I can say, "Hey Ida, how are the tyre pressures?"
The tyre pressures are okay.
It's always reassuring to know. So, you know, when you're driving along, actually the trick with this car is to talk to Ida and get her to do stuff for you rather than finding it and going through it as a menu. Now, the bit for me I really want to talk to in this HMI is the integration between the native sat nav and the charge network, an area that I feel so many EV manufacturers fall short. Tesla, for me, in this area, are market leaders by some way. But what I've seen of this system so far, it's very, very good. So if you just click on the screen here, in the top left-hand corner, you'll see there's a little electric plug icon. If I were to click on that, what that's going to do is it's going to search for chargers near me. And what it will do is it lists them there, but straight away I can see speed, 21 kilowatts, 50 kilowatts, 7 kilowatts. I can see the operator of that charge network. And if I go to this BP Pulse one here, for example, it will tell me its location and it will say green, it's working, and there are currently 10 chargers available at that particular charge location. I know if you're a Tesla owner, this is nothing new, but for me, this to see this in a new EV is really exciting, because this is how you deal with range anxiety. Because there's no such thing as range anxiety. It's charge station anxiety. It's understanding whether the charge network's going to work, whether it's going to be available. And that, for me, that's very, very exciting. So let's put it to the test. Let's plug in a destination that's a long way away from us. So I'm going to basically just cancel that. So we currently have 297 miles of range with 86% of the battery. So this car has a decent amount of range in it. So if I were to go onto the sat-nav screen, and I'm going to do a search for somewhere that's a long way from here, Edinburgh. Let's go. That's quite a long way. Edinburgh. So it's 359 miles. So if I start...
Please drive to the route shown. The next stopover is on a limited access road. Oh. Your route contains an essential charging stop.
So if we just click on the essential charging stop, so it sent us to a 350 kilowatt Ionity charger in Newcastle. So that is 237 miles away. So 4 hours, and I need to then stop there for 14 minutes. This is basically what Tesla do, and then I'll get to Edinburgh in 6 hours and 51 minutes. That, for me, that solves range anxiety. I know as a Tesla owner that is nothing special, but believe me, that gets me excited. Finally, I've come on an EV launch. I've said to the press team, does your native sat-nav integrate with the charge network? And the answer with this one is yes. And that's very exciting. Now, last year, I spent a week with the Arteon R shooting brake, and I commented in that video how long that car was. It was massive. Well, this car is about the same. This is 5 meters near enough in length. It is a huge footprint of a car. But what it does really nicely is that external size immediately translates into size and space internally. It feels like a really big car in here. I've mentioned already about having to put my seat forward, but it just has a big, spacious, airy feel. This particular car is also spec with this electrochromatic panoramic roof, so you can tint that at the touch of a button depending on what your daylight characteristics are like. But as we've got very little daylight today, I'll be leaving it as it is, trying to get as much light in here as possible. In terms of boot space, cavernous boot, it's about 535 litres or so with the seats up, very nearly 1600 litres with the seats down. I don't have my bike with me or the pups with me today, but safe to say I'll get both of those in there, absolutely no problem at all. But when you're driving it around busy Milton Keynes, as I am, trying to find some nice country roads, on the road, it doesn't actually feel that big. It's got the footprint of a big SUV, but you're in a lower driving position of a kind of large saloon car. And what that means is it doesn't really feel that big. But what about rear passenger space? Because I have a feeling in the back, I'm going to have plenty of room for my gangly long legs. So another VW launch, and me and Nick are paired together again. Nick O'Leary in the front. Now, I've just hit 200,000 subs. This chap is just about to hit 100,000 subscribers. So please head on over to his channel, give him a follow, because you're only about 2,000 away, aren't you, mate?
I think it's less than that.
Oh, come on. So, I've got a chauffeur, and all I have to say is, this car is cavernous. I've got loads of room in the back. I mean, Nick's a little bit shorter than me, so his seat's a little bit further forward than me. But I've already mentioned I had to bring my seat forward quite a long way. It almost feels like something like a 7 Series L, the limo version of a car, where you get that extra little bit of legroom. It is cavernous in here. I've got my own climate control, I've got plenty of power sockets to plug stuff in, I've got a Harman Kardon stereo. If I can pull this down here, look, and sit down. It's a very, very pleasant place to do a journey. So yeah, big thumbs up from the back. I say, my man, could we go to lunch now?
Yes, I think that's a spiffing good idea.
Oh yes.
VW have made buying the ID.7 simple. First, select the battery and trim level. At launch, this will just be the 77 kWh battery Pro Match from £51,550. Then choose the colour, the wheels and the option packs, both interior and exterior with or without the panoramic roof. Finally, you can choose a heat pump or a tow bar. The car I'm testing has the 20-inch alloy wheels at £480, the heat pump at just over £1,000, the Interior Pack Plus, which includes Harman Kardon stereo and vented and massage seats at £2,000, and the Exterior Pack Plus, which includes the panoramic roof and adaptive chassis control at £4,300, making the on-the-road price of the test car £59,450.
Now, I've already mentioned this car's drag coefficient of 0.23. Do some Googling. There aren't many vehicles out there with a drag coefficient as good as that. And part of it comes down to the fact this isn't an SUV format car, and that means it's super slippery through the air, and that means it's very, very efficient. So this Pro model has a 77 kilowatt-hour battery pack, which isn't massive. I test drove the new i5 BMW at the back end of last year, and that had a 100 kilowatt-hour battery pack. So VW quote for this car around 350, 360 miles. But even on a pretty cold day like it was today, with 97% battery, it was showing 330 miles. A huge amount of range. And then when the Pro S model comes out, that has a bigger battery pack of 86 kilowatt hours, and VW are quoting over 400 miles for that car. Now, I guess you could pare that number back a little bit in the real world and driving styles and all those types of things, but that is a lot of range. And then if you couple that to the speed of charge of these cars, this Pro model will do 175 kilowatt charging. The Pro S with a bigger battery pack will do up to 200 kilowatts of charging. And what that means is you're going to get, it's not a massive battery pack, remember, so if you plug into a charger in optimum conditions, you're probably going to be getting sort of, you know, if you were down at 10 to 20%, you could get 80% charge in 15 to 20 minutes, something like that. Barely long enough to have a comfort break and grab a coffee. But what's it like to drive? Well, if we just give it a bit of Yahoo down this country road, finally we are out of Milton Keynes. It's got a sprightly feel to it. I've already mentioned it doesn't feel like a massive car. The steering feel, it's reasonably direct. It does have a bit of a boaty, floaty feel to it. The suspension feels like it's been set up much more for comfort than for, you know, ultimate handling. But it's not an unpleasant feeling, that sensation of the car moving and pitching into corners. The upside of it is it soaks up the bumps really well. It's a very quiet, very comfortable car to be in. If we just come out of here, and for this kind of large executive saloon size of car, that is an ample amount of performance for me. Now clearly, if you start driving around with a heavy right foot like that, are you going to be able to get your 300, 350 miles? Are you going to be getting miles per kilowatt hour up into the 3.5 or 4 miles per kilowatt hour? Clearly not. There is a balance to be had. But for me, that kind of number, that kind of efficiency, if it's the number that you actually get, and I'd love to spend more time with this car to really understand if that's possible. The challenge with a day like today, I'm going to be driving the car for an hour or two maximum. I need this car for a good week. I need to take it on a long journey to really put that number to the test. But the amount of EV reviews I get where the comments are, it won't do 300, it won't do 400 miles. Well, this one will. And that, for me, that makes it very interesting. So my final impressions of the car, I came to this day today with a very open mind. I'd not driven an ID product. The closest I got was driving a Cupra Born, which is underpinnings very similar to the ID.3, which was VW's first all-electric vehicle. And I have to say, I am very impressed. I like the feel, the premium feel. I like the sat-nav integration with the charge network. Finally, we're starting to see a manufacturer kind of do what Tesla have been doing for a long time. It's a very smooth, very quiet, very comfortable car to drive, and there is loads and loads of space. Price point, I think it's probably about right. I mean, you know, when you're in a world where you can pay nearly £40,000 for an electric Vauxhall Corsa, looking at the kind of early 50s to late 50s for a car of this size and quality, I actually think that's pretty good money. And bearing in mind, most people will be leasing or putting these on a finance deal. But now we're in the bit of Milton Keynes, which is roundabout after roundabout. It's a nice car to drive. It's certainly, I really like the head-up display, and the infotainment system in general is really good. A big uplift. As I said, this is the first VW car with this latest generation of HMI, and it is night and day better than other VWs I've driven. And even the guys from VW will put their hands up and admit that one, I think. So yeah, really interesting car. Let me know what you guys think to the new VW ID.7. I will be talking to the press team to try and get one of these for a bit longer. I desperately want to take this on a long journey, and I desperately want to put that claim of 350 miles of range. In fact, I'll wait till they get the Pro S version and see if I can break 400 miles. You could pretty much drive from my house nearly to Edinburgh without charging up. That'd be an interesting road trip. Anyway, for now, I'm going to enjoy the lovely weather here in Milton Keynes. I hope you enjoyed that one. If you did, give me a thumbs up. Comments below are always welcome. And if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to Petrol Ped for plenty more content to come. And I'll see you on the next film. You take care, guys. Drive safe.